Welcome back to One Car Garage. Going to kind of just jump right into things here this morning and kind of show you what I would like to get done on this video, and then give you some brief explanation as to why we're going in this order. So here we go. Well, to begin with, I went over to the scrap yard. UAPI in Texarkana's my favorite yard to pick, man. They have a lot of real good rigs. These come out of a 2012 Ford Focus. Really good shaped seats. I mean, not really no tears, rips, burns, nothing like that. The car they came out of had not been any kind of collision. I said that it had a bad transmission in it, so we don't have to worry about getting seats that the frames have been torqued or anything like that. I did a lot of looking at cars when I was in the scrapyard, and one thing that I knew I had to have was something that had a flat mount like that right there and like that right there. I wanted those because it makes it so much easier to mount to these floors, and everything just really worked out really good on these seats. And to me, they're really good looking seats. They're very clean. I mean, I'll take and get some upholstery cleaner and we'll clean them up a little bit, but those are some nice looking seats. They've got the headrest and everything else. It's that, I don't know what you call this type fabric, but it's really easy to keep clean. We need to clean the plastics up just a little bit. Everything works on them. They sit wonderful, and I could not be happier. Something else I'd like to get done during this video, I've got the gas fuel cell just kind of sitting in place, but I'd like to get all this clutter out of this car, degrease it, scratch it down, clean it up, get a coat of primer, get a coat of paint back here, and get this area buttoned up. I know initially I had said maybe getting some bed liner and all this, but I just don't see the need. The trunk area is just somewhere that I'm going to see it. Not a lot of people are going to see it, so I'm not overly concerned with what it looks like. Something else I'd like to do, these few little trim holes right here, we need to wire wheel that down, clean it up real good, get it to where it is. We need a vacuum down in there as well. But anyway, clean this whole area up and run some fiberglass cloth over this right here and get ready to start fixing those holes. That's how I'm going to fix my holes. Same on this side. We'll do the same thing. Wire wheel it down to bare metal, lay in some fiberglass cloth with 2-part epoxy resin, and then we'll be good to work the body from the outside. But get this all cleaned up, get a coat of paint in here. I do have the fuel sending unit for the tank, brand new. I've got the electric fuel pump. What else? We got the block plate where we can take the manual fuel pump off and put the block plate. So we may get all that done on this video as well. All right, I'd like to get in here and clean all these fender wells up and all the steering components and all that, degrease them. Look at all this grease, that kind of thing that's on these. Just get all that off, because all this is getting replaced eventually. I'm fixing to tell you more about that here in a second. But get it cleaned up to where it's a little easier to work around in here, and that's something that needs to be done anyway. All right, so I know I said for the past few videos we're going to get the brakes done, we're going to get the steering components done. Everything's still held up, and let me explain to you why. I have everything to do the steering components. I think the only thing I need is a set of shocks. Other than that, I've got everything to do the brake. I've got everything except for upper ball joints. And those are just on back order. I've got them ordered through Jegs. It's not Jegs' fault that they're not here. They're just the manufacturer, Delphi. They're just out of stock on them. And until they get some more made, I guess, and get them shipped out to me, my name's on the waiting list. And for right now, I'm willing to wait because I've got so much more that needs to be done to this car that it's really no major problem. I mean, if I got all that done right now, I'm not going to be driving the car anyway, because like I say, there's tons more to do. And so we're going to kind of move along, and we're going to get the seats put in, and we're going to clean the trunk up. And I mean, if it gets right down to it, I'll hook things back up and we'll go ahead and put the new motor and transmission in. But I would like to get all the steering and all that done before we move into the motor and transmission. But we'll see. I mean, there's really I don't have a grease pencil in the window agenda on this deal. It's just, we're just working on it as we can and as we want to. The good thing about it being my hobby is there's no deadline. I mean, it gets done when it gets done, and it gets done the way I want it done. Now, that being mentioned, I know there may be somebody going, why are we putting high back seats in an old car? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, we'll go with safety. And I don't know, and I can't really validate this as a true statement, but I'm going to tell you in my mind how this works. I'm a tall guy. I don't know if that translates to video or not. I'm 6'3". A low back seat catches me somewhere right around the shoulder blades. So that means my shoulder, neck, and head area have nothing. If I was to get into some kind of front end collision or something, I'm over the seat. Nah, it's just not going to be a good situation. So I feel safer using a high back seat. So that's reason number one. Reason number two would be leg room. With these type seats, they go back farther. The factory bench seat in here just didn't go back far enough for me. I mean, I'm going to be far more comfortable driving with these type seats than I would be with the factory bucket seat. I've still got the factory bucket seat, so if I was to ever sell this car, I can just offer it up and give it to somebody, I guess. But the third reason I'm going to say is this, is I'm building this car for me. You build your car for you, and I think you should build your car for you. I mean, this is going to be a driver's car. It's going to be a car that I drive in, so I want it to be comfortable. I want it to be comfortable for me, and so I'm happy with these seats. I really, really like the way they look. I think it's going to really add to the styling of the car. I think once we get the sound deadener and the carpet and the inside painted and the new headliner and all, I think it'll look good. So I like these type seats. The other thing, and I guess it would be the final deal, is when we do get the new motor and transmission in, is I'm not going to worry with hooking up the column shift. I'm going to put a floor shifter in it. Just seems a whole lot easier, a whole lot simpler, and then we can run, come back behind and build a console behind that, and it just kind of look neat. It's the style I want. So at any rate, during this video, guarantee you we're going to get seats put in. I really want to get this trunk area cleaned up and painted. Hopefully can get the fuel system hooked back up, and then maybe get cleaned up, washed up, degreased under the fender wells. We're going to be doing that work. If I get to that point, I'll be happy with this video. Gonna try to keep it around 30 minutes. And so let's quit talking and see what we can get done. All right, I wasn't gonna really get anything else done today. It's been kind of a rainy, slow day. I've had a hectic weekend. Been really tired. I'm finally freed up from all my extra duties or whatever. Picked me up some new rubber gloves over at the Harbor Freight this weekend. I use a lot of rubber gloves, just keep my hands out of stuff. But we're gonna get in here and clean this trunk out. I mean, I've just got all kind of junk in here, really. There's our headlight bezels. We definitely, those are in good shape. We can take those and clean them up sometime. Speedy Bird. Seat cushion. I believe we've graduated from having to use that. The door panel, and I don't know why we'd want to keep this old door panel. 2 of 62. Allen Industries. I mean, we might keep it just to have a pattern. Here's some vinyl. Pretty good amount of vinyl, but I'm gonna be dead honest with you, that's not a color I care to use, but just because I'm a pack rat, we're probably gonna save that. We may use it on something. I've got 2 or 3 of these back in the back shop that match this. These are not going back on the car, but I'm not going to throw them away. There's another door panel, and they've kind of done what I'm planning on doing, which is taking some Luan, some 1/4-inch Luan probably, or something a little more substantial than a cardboard, and foaming them out and wrapping them. And I'll be dead honest with you, that's what I'm planning on doing whenever I cover them. So looks like they kind of had the same idea I did. Hang on it for a pattern as well. Side trim, and I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be putting this back on, but we're not going to get rid of that. Another piece of trim. See, this just been screwed on, and to me that's just not going to look right. It's all there. I mean, both sides of it are there. We may entertain the idea, but if you're building one of these cars and you could use this trim, let me know in the comments. I'd probably give it to somebody that's a member of my channel. Probably let them have it. You pay the shipping and I'll ship it to you. We're gonna put this back in the back storage barn. Got my other sight glass. This one's actually in better shape than the the one that's on the hood. I do want to figure out a way to redo these. I don't know. I mean, I know I could take epoxy resin and refill these. Like I say, this one's in better shape than the one that's on there. I mean, they make reproductions of these, and we may just put repops on, but at any rate, that's what that is. Got a visor. I don't know if this comes out of this car or not. Looks more modern. We'll check it out and see. Got another funnel, and of course this was my utility knife. My pliers. Got the fuel tank bolts. Fuel cap. Filler hose. Part of your air cleaner, and this wasn't even on mine, so I'm not going to be using it. All your wires, and this wire goes to the sending unit here. I really don't like how they just lay on top of the floor. Wires running to your tail lights in here, and license plate light, part of an extension cord. But I'm gonna get the vacuum cleaner back here. We're gonna vacuum out, sweep this up real good, hit it with some degreaser, and go from there. Here we go. Now, some of these areas that look like they're kind of oil soaked or whatever, and up in the fender wells, going to hit all this with some super clean, let it sit overnight. I'm not going to worry too much about this because, say, this area over here was the biggest thing because it had some grease. Because we're going to be getting after that with a wire wheel anyway. So, all right, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll get on it with a wire wheeler. It's getting kind of late, and family's home, and I'm just kind of done for the day, to be honest with you. So we'll pick back up on this tomorrow. Well, it's real windy out here today. We're getting ready to wire wheel this floor, get all this surface rust and whatnot up. I don't know how bad the wind is going to kill me on the footage here, so a lot of this may just be I may put music over the top of it or whatever. At any rate, let's wire wheel the floor. Well, in typical fashion of me, overkill, I've got it all masked off and wiped down and everything, ready for a coat of rusty red. We're going to hit it with a coat of rusty red primer, and I'll be back. Man, I tell you, things to me just look a whole lot better with a coat of paint on them. That's nothing but a coat of rusty red, and it just that alone cleaned it up tremendously. So getting ready to mix this paint up, and we're going to shoot it with a coat of the Ford Tractor Gray. I have decided that back inside the fender wells in there that I'm going to end up painting that a flat black. So I'm just not overly worried about, I mean, primarily what I'm looking at getting paint on is the floor and I guess those wheel wells there. So anyway, this wind is a nightmare today, but let me get you some paint sprayed. All right, this is the paint that I'm using. It's a Valspar tractor and implement paint in Ford Gray. Picked it up for about $14 and some change at my local hardware store. You've seen people paint cars with this. I don't do that, but for the inside of the trunk, it'll work just fine. you know, urethane paint is available readily on eBay for an affordable price, and so as long as I can still get my hands on actual car paint, that's what I'm going to use. But this stuff is tough and it'll work. I mean, you know, people have done it and have had good results. It's just not a practice that I'm going to be using. But again, for inside the trunk and undercoatings and stuff like this, I think this is fine. So I'm mixing it 5 ounces of paint, 2 ounces of acetone, and a couple capfuls of hardener. Running it through my Spray It LVLP spray gun at about 25 to 26, 27 pounds of pressure, and it sprays like a champ using a 2.0 tip. I'm not looking for a fine finish on this deal. I just this paint's a little thick, so I'm using a bigger tip, and it comes out really good. So anyway, we're gonna get a coat down and I'll show y'all what we're looking at. All right, we pulled off all the masking and we've sprayed it. It's had a couple coats on it. I mean, it's a trunk, and the more I look at it, the more I think I'm going to probably leave the floor the gray and go in there and do the wheel tubs and all of this side area in flat black. I mean, it's a trunk. We've still got to fix the holes there. We'll work on that tomorrow, but there it is. We're going to let it off gas for a couple hours, and I may show you some footage of it tomorrow when this is in the shade, but it's going to look nice. It's a whole lot cleaner looking, I can guarantee you that. So Ford tractor gray, or Ford implement gray is the color again. So, you know, it'll be nice and bright in here at any rate. But all right, that's one trunk cleaned up and painted. All right, let me show y'all something now that it's a little overcast today, and you know, you can kind of see things better. Yesterday the sun was blocking it, and I know I was kind of rushed through this part of it yesterday, but it's because I couldn't really pick up any good footage because of the wind. But anyway, that's the trunk. You can see I've painted back there in the fender wells the flat black. I did that yesterday evening, and I'm pretty well going to be done with it. But what I've got going on here, let me get in here and show you guys. If you'll remember, the wire that runs from the sending unit just laid on top of the floor and then ran down in through there. 99% of the time, I'm probably going to have a furniture wrap pad, or you know, a rug or something back here, just to keep things from sliding around, and also if you break down on the side of the road, that way you got something to get on top of. However, I didn't like the idea of just a random wire laying on across the floor there. So I've taken a piece of brake line in my typical fashion of overkill, and I have threaded the new wire through there, and I'm going to fasten this to the floor. That way it's secure, and I don't have to worry about if I throw something in here and it's rolling around, it's snagging that wire and cutting my fuel pump, my sending unit off, or anything like that. I just feel better by doing this. Again, something that doesn't have to be done, but I just kind of want to do it. So anyway, I'll let you see what I'm talking about here. All right, I've got it pretty well bent in the shape that I'm going to have it in, but I'm going to put in a few these fasteners, which really won't serve a whole lot of purpose in this particular deal, but they'll keep them fastened in place. Okay, again, probably overkill, but I just feel better about not having some random wire, you know, just laying about on the floor. But I think I'm gonna put the sending unit in this gas tank, get the filler neck hooked back up, get everything bolted in. Okay, old sending unit. Looks, I mean, if that's not original, that dude's been in there for a long time. And here's the new sending unit. I ordered this from Dennis Carpenter. This is a 14-gallon tank, and you have to order the 14-gallon sending unit because most of the ones you see online for this particular vehicle are a 16-gallon. Let me double check, but I don't think it came with a new locking ring. Glad I looked in the box. It did come with a new locking ring and a gasket, so good to go there. Just in case you're building one of these cars, there's the part number from Dennis Carpenter, C2DZ9275-A gas sending unit. That's the one you need for a 14-gallon tank. We got the pigtail made and got it heat shrinked. That's good enough. Hold the presses. I was wanting to put some caulk tape in between the gas tank and the floor. So I'm going to make a real quick run to the hardware store. Alright, I'm going to make my connection here from my sending unit. And me personally, I like these little non-crimp style, you just heat them and they solder together connectors. That's all there is to that. You know, the only thing I didn't get done back here, I didn't get those holes fiberglassed, and I just really don't want to do that today. I'd rather wait until we have some better weather. I mean, we've got rain threatening right now. Well, before I head in the house, you know what I got to do before I leave the shop? Little Joe's waterless hand cleaner. Made right here in America, Yukon, Oklahoma since 1948. Proudly made in America. Building relationships one hand at a time. Guys, if you've got a shop and you're not using Joe's hand cleaner, what are you using? They say dirty hands is clean money, but they ain't got to show everybody you got dirty hands and let them know about your money. Keep your hands clean, man. This stuff's even got, I believe, it's even got lanolin in it. It's good for your hands, good for your cuticles and stuff like that. It's all right for you to have some concern for your hands. You're using these things to make a living, ain't you? No water required. Just work it on your hands for a minute. Get your shop rag, wipe it off. It just works. It just flat works. The red label, the waterless hand cleaner. The green label, the waterless hand scrub. It's got little scrubbers in it, so if your hands are real dirty, that's what you want. Anyway, Joe's waterless hand cleaner, get you some. Hey, good news, good news, good news. Jegs could not get me those upper ball joints I'd told you that I'd ordered. They're just, nobody's made those parts in a couple of years, and so I emailed them, said, hey, look, are these ever going to come in? The answer was no, they're not going to come in. I reached out to Falcon Enterprises. Same story, they had some listed, but they're not ever going to be able to ship. So I got on eBay. I found a couple vendors on there that had some new old stock, Moog, upper ball joints. That's the route we're going. They should be in a few days. So we're going to go ahead and power wash and degrease all this upper front end and get that done. So here we go.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, put your hand to the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light, ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel?
Well, guys, we're going to work on seats this morning, but I got to show you the seals on these windows of the doors and stuff. They leak so bad that every time it rains, and we've had some real heavy rains this spring where I'm at, it's just absolutely flooding the inside of the car. One thing I know, my floorboards that I put in are watertight, because let me show you. Every time it rains, I'm having to come, and I don't know if y'all can see this or not, but it's standing in water. And that's just from last night. It hadn't been standing there long. We're going to blow all this out, get it all out. I'm also going to declutter all this back. We're going to get this clean, and we're going to see about getting some seats mounted. But every time I come out here after it rains, I have to get the blower out or the vacuum out and get all this water out. And that's just a product of all these old seals they're just gone. I mean, they're not even present. So we're going to have to address that pretty soon. I kind of wanted to wait until we were doing the body work and paint on this car, but you know, we may go ahead and work this area down, prime it, and doubt we'll paint it, but you know, go ahead and do that and get our seals put in, because I've got to get this to stop doing that. All right, guys, a couple things we need to do before we get these seats put in. These sensors, all these electrical sensors, you know, I'm sure this is the sensor seat, you know, saying if somebody's sitting in this seat. This was the airbag where all the airbag stuff's hooked up to. All this needs to come out. Got a wire coming over here, and it's just going to be your seatbelt wire. We're going to do that, get everything off of these seats that we don't need. There's some locator pins right here. I can either drill another hole and put them in or remove these locator pins, and I'm probably going to remove the locator pins. Let's get all that done. All right, we got to cut these off. Like I say, these are just little locators from the factory. Anyway, we're going to grind this off. That's good enough. Marcus, get in here. This boy done used washers underneath them seat mounts. That just ain't gonna work. Yep, I drilled holes, used washers as the spacers. I promise you, them seats ain't going nowhere. I did step up. I had to get a little longer bolt. Let's sit in it and try it out. I actually fit in here, even with it all the way forward, but all the way back, Jack, we got some leg room, major leg room. As I've said before, I'm a big guy, so I got to have lots of leg room. I won't be sitting in the passenger side seat of this very often, but if I ever am, I've got plenty of leg room. Let's go. All right, we got the back seat area all cleaned up. We've got our seats mounted. You know, I had thought about buying the back seat out of that Focus as well. These seats again are out of a 2012 Ford Focus, and I thought about buying the back seat and retrofitting it, but I think I've talked myself out of it. And the one splurge I may do on this is I may get the factory back seat covered in a fabric very similar to what these front seats are, because I'd like for them to match, or at least the right color. But we've got that cleaned up. We'll let that dry for a few days, get in there and vacuum it, hit it with some super clean, that sort of deal. Let me let y'all look at these seats though, mounted. There they are, and I mean, I just, like I say, you may not be into putting modern seats in an old car, but to me, it's just a huge improvement. I'm gonna have leg room, they're comfortable. And again, the safety factor being into the high back seats as tall as I am. So I'm happy with it. Well guys, I think that's where we're gonna wrap up today's video. You know, we got the trunk done, the fuel cell remounted. We've got the new seats that I went and bought. I'll show them to you, and I've got them mounted. On the next video, I know for sure that we're going to be getting into the front end, the suspension parts. Everything is ordered. Everything is going to be here. By the time I get ready to start shooting the next video, I can even see where it is shipped. So we're in good shape there. So I kind of got done what we wanted to get done on this video with the trunk area, which, you know, like I say, I know that's kind of overkill, but, you know, we want it done and we want it right. We want it clean and that sort of thing. So got the seats mounted, so I'm happy with them. So guys, I appreciate you watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Above all, have fun. Come back and see us on One Car Garage.